Yo, how's it going, guys? We're back here for another video. Aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. This is going to be a very simple explanation. I'm going to start with aperture. You can think of it as like your pupil, right? How much light comes in. So that's the opening inside of the lens. Every lens has its own aperture measurements. You can see it as a f, 1.8, 2.8, 1.2. You can see all these in all the lenses. So aperture, you can think of it as the lower the number, right? 1.8 would be that it is a bigger opening, which means that you will get more bokeh, right? That just blurs your background and it makes whatever you're focused on, your subject is, stand out more. You can use that for portraits or when you're low light. It'll focus on your subject, background will be blurred out, and it'll give it more of a pop, right? You can also use it for low light situations. If you don't want to bump your ISO too high up, you can always bring your aperture down. Another thing with aperture, so the lower, that means the bigger the opening, and then the higher means the smaller the opening. F8 means your background is also going to be in focus. It's going to be a little bit sharper. It's not going to be so blurry as a lot of these other photos I'm going to be showing you guys as examples. You can use this for landscape where your subject is a lot further and you want to make sure you grab everything, right? Foreground, background, midground, everything. So you can use a higher aperture for landscapes or group photos, right? When you take group photography, it's not just one line of everybody, right? No, you're gonna have to stagger them like 2-3 rows. So you wanna make sure that the person in the back is in focus just as much as the person in the front. So I can give you an analogy. In the dark, your eyes, they get bigger, right? Because they're trying to let more light in so you can actually see where you're walking. And when it's sunny outside, your pupils will completely shrink and be almost pencil sized. That's a higher number. Number 2, shutter speed. It's how long the sensor is exposed to light. You measure it in fractions of a second. So 1/50th of a second, 1/200th of a second, or 1 full second when you're trying to do long exposures, right? Which means the eye will stay open a little bit longer, letting more light and information into the image. If you're out shooting sports, right? You want to be able to freeze your subject when it's within your frame. So you would use a faster shutter speed, which pretty much you would freeze that person in motion or your object, right? This is usually good for sport, dancing. So you want to have a high shutter speed, right? You want to be able to be fast enough to freeze the subject where you need it to be. If not, it's just going to look blurred. Or maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want a pretty nice long exposure, which is fine, you know, creativity. You're free to do whatever you have. Slower shutter speed. This usually causes motion blur. This is mostly used for light trails, right? You want to smooth water. When you're shooting in these shutter speeds, you definitely want to use a tripod and make sure you always put a timer when you press the button, just because even you pressing the button shakes the camera already. It will mess up your photo. Number 3, ISO. You're just increasing the sensitivity to light. Anything like at 100, you are shooting either with good coverage of light and or with strobes, right? And then you have high ISO, which, you know, it does make the image a lot brighter. You're risking in adding grain or noise. If you've ever shot at night and you see these little dots everywhere, that's grain. Congratulations, you discovered grain. Not discovered, but you've witnessed camera grain or noise. So anything in the ranges between 100 to 200, that's something that you would use outdoors, right? Or there's a lot of bright light out there. You can always play around with those ranges. If you are low lighting situations, right, you can bring up your ISO. You do run risk of getting a bit of grain. Now, if you learn to use all 3 of these harmoniously, that means go to a new scenario. Low lighting, I know my camera, so I can just bump down my shutter speed to like 250, f-stop 1.2. Oh, that's good. Okay, wait, but I want some of the background to show up, so let me bring it up to like 1.8. Let me do 4. Oh, that brought my image too dark. Let me just bump up my ISO a bit more. This is how you then start to fully learn how to shoot manual. You have left auto in the dust. You don't do that shit no more. Manual is a lot of fun because you do get to play with all these things, right? You can do motion blur, you can get grain, you can get bokeh, and just playing with these 3 specific settings it opens up the door of really manipulating your images, so you don't have to do it afterwards in post. So final summary of all this. Aperture, it controls background blur and the depth of field. Number 2, shutter speed. It controls motion, right? Whether you want to freeze your subject or you want it to blur. Shutter speed is what controls that. High shutter speed freezes stuff. Low shutter speed will create motion blur. And lastly, ISO. What it controls is brightness and grain. Once you master these 3, there is a lot more that you can do. Besides that, thank you for watching. I hope you learned something, and if you've already know some of this, check out the other videos. There's more in-depth stuff about intermediate level photography, how to use lights and accessories that I use. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and leave a like and a comment or something.